I want you to answer these questions in your head. Have you ever volunteered before? Do you think volunteering is important? And how many people do you know that actually volunteer on a regular basis? Now, I think volunteering is important because it changes people in their communities. I had to volunteer in order to graduate high school, which really sparked my interest in volunteering. I actually ended up doing Pom Pups, which is a cheerleading program put on by our local Parks and Rec, and I led the program and I taught elementary kids different cheers, and I made up a dance for them to showcase at a football game. And I'm actually wearing my Pom Pups shirt here. And I really think that experience bettered me as a person, and I'll explain how. High schoolers should be required 15 hours of volunteer work throughout high school. Now, I'm going to be talking about the different skills that are developed, the different connections that are made, and how it encourages students to be involved citizens later on. Now, skills are a huge outcome of volunteering in high school. I am categorizing skills into two different categories. First one would be interpersonal skills. Now, interpersonal skills are what you would think of as social skills. These are skills gained through interaction with other people. The different interpersonal skills that I have listed are time management, flexibility, teamwork, and responsibility. To start off with, time management would be acquired because high school students would have to figure out what organization they wanted to work at and when they would fit that into their schedule. I know a concern is that high school students are busy and they don't have time to, but this 15 hours would only be required throughout their 4 years of high school, and 15 hours is not a lot of time throughout their 4 years. So they would have to figure out how to work it into their schedule within 4 years. Flexibility is also acquired. Flexibility is super important, especially in larger organizations, because there's a lot of different things that need to be done to keep the organization running. So maybe some students might be working directly with people, but other students could be working behind the curtain and just doing the bills and the underlying things that you don't realize on the front. Teamwork would be developed because organizations take a lot of different people to keep them running, and we know that some tasks simply cannot be done by oneself. And so teamwork is super important because you're always going to have to work in a team. That's something you should know. Lastly, I have down responsibility, which really encompasses all these skills because you have that they would have other people relying on them. Time management, flexibility, teamwork holds high school students accountable for themselves. The other category of skills would be managerial skills. These are skills that help within business later on. In 5 Great Reasons for High School Students to Volunteer, published in 2013, Mel Cobb writes, for example, by managing receipts, sorting and distributing of donations from a community-sponsored school supplies drive, teens would learn how to use spreadsheets and to keep track of inventory. These skills are a great foundation for a job in management, accounting, or running a small business. See, there's many examples of managerial skills. This is just one of them. Now, these skills would also lead into building connections, and volunteering creates connections, which has many benefits within itself. One connection that could be made would be friendships, and we all know that we need friendships. Working together in a similar goal creates bonds that would last a lifetime, and I'm sure, for example, that many of you have created friendships in your different classes and different group works at UNI. Another type of connection would be connections that help with future occupations. Bosses and workers of organizations could be used as a reference on job applications, and Rachel Lefevre tells the Kalamazoo Gazette staff in Should High School Students Be Forced to Volunteer, published in 2011. My best friend got her summer job after volunteering several summers at a Boy Scout camp. Because of her experience acquired through volunteering, she was able to get a job much more easily. So this really sparks interest in different organizations as well. I know a lot of people from my school that really like the organizations that they volunteered at and actually ended up wanting to take a career in something related to that volunteer work. In Volunteering and Its Surprise Benefits, written by Siegel and Robinson in 2019, they talk about how connections are great when remembering the diversity of clientele in public health organizations. So people in need take no specific race, nationality, gender, religion, etc. They're just people in need, and everyone needs help from time to time. They come from all different backgrounds and stories, and high school is where people should really be opened up to this opportunity to expand their worlds and diversify their worlds. Getting people to help with people within their community really opens up eyes and builds a drive to better their community. It encourages a happy and healthy community and may inspire some to join different parts of their local government, whether it be school board or city council. It makes people engage with the other people in their community, some that they might not even realize needed help before. Using the National Educational Longitudinal Study published in 2007, they talk about how students are more likely to be involved in their responsibilities as an American citizen, most specifically in voting. And in a country where voting is low for younger generations, requiring volunteering in high school could spark increased voter turnout in the future. Now, there are many ways to get this passed in Iowa. First of all, you can lobby your state representatives and senators. Education and volunteering is something that is very important to the well-being of a state and should be on their radar. For example, my Iowa representative in my area is Jane Bloomingdale, and my senator is Waylon Brown. You can also lobby local, especially if you have children later on. This is something that you should go to a school board and try to push this through for the sake of your child and for the community. And lastly, you could always volunteer more. Sometimes volunteering has a stigma behind it that you have to be a certain type of person to volunteer, but you really don't. And you just have to be human. So it sets a good example for students. Now, like I've listed, there are many good reasons to volunteer, but I don't understand why not. High school students should within 4 years finish 15 hours of volunteer work to graduate high school. And I hope talking about the benefits opens you up to this idea, because you can't refute the skills and connections that help develop students into citizens. So requiring volunteer hours to graduate high school, why not?